And so, these forces aligned against one another as Seven Nations deploys many hidden troops stationed throughout Suffragette City and all the other cities, soon gathering into one great firestorm of violence and war. Let's take a look at the grid map between these two sides. Before we get into the battle itself, let's take a quick review of the sheets and how we're going to do mass combat. So Marisol, if you click on, let's make sure these are all configured properly. Server. And if you click on the other one, owner. Okay, observer. Okay, so Marisol, if you click on the angel icon there, if you double click on that, it should open up the luck and law sheet. Is that right? Okay. So luck and law, we'll go over it real quick. What do we have? Defending forces of the moon is their high concept. Their trouble is they were caught off guard. They have aspects like laser-eyed civilian militia, which because the population has laser contact lenses they can fire off. Communications control because they have control over the repeater network. They are high gravity opposition because they have such a concentration of people that are very influential and powerful. And finally, they have a weaponized infrastructure in the form of either just technology that's been put into place that provides shock barriers or different weapons, or just the vehicles and all of the Lewis Clark robots, basically. That is part of the weaponized infrastructure. So the whole infrastructure of the moon can technically be weaponized. If we go down to the skills and stunts, we see that each member of the little group here has their own skill. It's Kev, Alkesha, Katie, the What team, and Peacemakers. There's no icon for the Peacemakers yet, but there probably should be. Going forward, the way that we're going to handle mass combat is we're going to give you one stunt per member of the team, or one with a maximum of 6. So if we go through the stunts real quick to see what they do, we see that Kev can be used to roll to maintain troop order, defending against mental stress and attempts to disrupt formations. And any roll that he makes that's successful in this will cause an extra shift of damage next time they take an action, and it will give a +2 boost as successes with style do. So that means if he defends against a thing and he rolls 3 or higher, then their next thing will cause an extra shift, and they get that +2 boost like most do. And by the way, if he rolls, I forget, like 4, I think, higher or something like that, then that boost is doubled from a +2 to a +4, I believe. I'll have to check the rules again to make sure. It might be 5 where that happens. But either way, we'll just deal with it. I doubt that'll happen. Laser light show means that Alkesha can... So let me break down real quick, actually, before we get into how that works, how I'm going to probably run mass combat in the future. On mass combat terms like this, each one of these sides will get 3 turns. One is a movement turn, or 3 actions rather. One is a movement action, one is a create advantage action, and the other is an attack action. Or yeah, attack action more or less. So each side gets 3 actions. One is to do a boost, one is to move your formation, which can be good or bad, and one is to actually make an attack. Each one of those rolls also has opposition from the other side. So on one side's turn, they'll have those 3 actions. The other side will try to oppose the opposition's turn, then, et cetera, et cetera. So with that out of the way, so when the first team tries to use their advantage turn, they can have Alkesha roll it. And once per scene, Alkesha can create a passive opposition barrier of just lasers, different lasers that are bouncing around to hit troops. No attack can go through this laser curtain that doesn't pass whatever it is she rolled. So if she rolls a 6, that means the passive opposition is 6. And any attempt to get through, not only to get through the laser curtain with an attack, but also to use your speed or otherwise create an advantage in a place where that laser curtain is in lockdown. If you fail at that, you take the difference in shifts of physical stress. So it's a once per scene stunt. It's pretty strong, though. can like effectively lock down the opposing force for 1 turn, possibly. Fighting the odds is something Katie can do. She can spend a fate point reflexively to make the opposition re-roll something. If their second roll is lower than the first roll was, then they can't invoke anything to boost that, and she regains that fate point. If the second roll is higher, the other team just gets her fate point. This is how that works. So this is like she's running some sort of gambit, whether it's trying to decide, what is the best place to catch these guys as they're trying to move, align different troops. She's using her own like ability to gamble against the enemy team. So it's basically a coin flip is what we're looking at. But this may be very beneficial depending on how it's used, because it could mean like if you notice someone roll high, very high, you get a lot of pluses. You have a much better chance of making them roll lower, making sure their attack either doesn't succeed or succeeds with very little consequence, or whatever, failing very miserably, and getting a fate point back for it. So this is it's a very strong, technically, when used properly, kind of stunt. We'll see how it works out. Finally, we have the What team, who if they are attempting to put a condition on the other team, to impose a condition, this would be done either during the attack or create advantage roll. That condition provides a +3 instead of a +2. So they're suppressive. They're good at doing SWAT team tactics. And then finally, peace at all costs. Or peace at any cost. So when the group needs to make a movement roll or wants to do a movement roll, the peacemakers can do that, and they can basically get the enemy team, or they can get their own team to wherever they need to be, but they are the ones basically taking the damage for their own forces as they make sure you successfully get there. They're moving the VIPs. They're also getting shot to pieces when they do, but they will absolutely make sure you need to get to where you want to go. So if they're rolling a movement thing and they get like a 1, and somebody's trying to make sure they're not going anywhere, so they roll like a 5, that means that you still get to where you're going, but you take 2, or you can still get to where you're going if you want, I should say. It's not like an auto thing. You can choose not to be able to move somewhere else, but if you do, you'll take 2 shifts of physical stress. You'll succeed, but the peacemakers will take the hit. So that's pretty much the rundown. You can see they have 5 physical stress and 5 mental stress. This is me kind of like peeling back a little bit, turning down some of the numbers because the original group combat numbers were aligned in a way that was meant to be like with a different system of how we were doing stress. So we'll see if that needs to be boosted or not. This is a good way to find out. So closing that sheet and going over to the skull with the 7 on it, if you double click that, you should be able to open up the 7 Devils team. 7 Devils is obviously 7 Nation Army. You can see that their concept is they are vengeful veterans of violence, because alliteration is fun. The trouble is they're extremely chaotic, and they are motivated by fear. They have war-scarred leaders, and there's no quarter given. You can see they have on their team Halloween Jack, Bloody Valentine, and Parker Coltrane, all of whom are military commanders with a lot of experience. 2 of whom are wearing masks, spooky masks. And because they only have 4 kind of groups, they only have 4 stunts instead of 5. So that's, just kind of just what they're dealing with. So when we look at their stunts real quick, we can see that 7 Devils have because of Valentine, something called no escape. So if you're engaged against them in a fight and you attempt to move away, retreat, or otherwise disengage, Valentine is the one who rolls the defense on that, and he gets a +2 to it. So if you fail to exceed their level, then you will take those results in shifts of damage. So basically, you're rolling against a 7. When you engage them to try to escape, you're rolling against a 7, which is really hard for a lot of people. And if you fuck that up, you're taking that in damage. Now, in that sort of situation, the Peacemaker's stunt actually works with this in a way. So it's like if you're going to take the damage anyway, you may just want to move with the Peacemakers. So that way, it depends on if you're retreating, I guess. Because if you do it with the Peacemakers, you will take half damage. So use the Peacemakers to retreat. Psychological warfare. when this group Seven Devils is trying to inflict mental shifts or consequences, they cause an extra shift because of Halloween Jack's expertise in this field. And when Halloween Jack acts on the group's advantage turn, he can cause pure terror. So he imposes this as a condition on the enemy team. Once pure terror is invoked, it can be invoked for free by the Seven Devils going forward when they're attempting to disrupt order or otherwise terrorize the people that they're fighting. So they can be used on attack rolls. It can be used on create advantage rolls when those things target like mental type of faculties, whether it's like troop morale or just like trying to terrorize people into giving up, quitting, and running away. Salt the Earth is what Parker Coltrane brings to the table. When Parker Coltrane uses his action to move forces, if they take an attack right away afterwards, then they get a +2 to the roll. So Parker Coltrane's expertise in kind of like quickly decimating populations allows him to just quickly move in and surgically strike weak points to cut off people from supply lines, to all sorts of things. Just attack where they have the most like weak or sick or already injured soldiers, and it's just behind the line. He's able to stealthily kind of like get behind and hit that diseased, weakened, crippled part of a military organization. It's kind of like what he does. So as a result, they get a +2 bonus because they're just really good at it. And finally, because the soldiers in the Seven Nation Army, all defensive rolls that they make get a +1, because the soldiers of the Seven Nation Army will kind of like throw themselves up. They're very tough. They've got a lot of battle experience. They get a +1, and until they've taken a moderate consequence or higher. At that point, that bonus becomes a +2 to their defensive rolls. So they hold up very well in battle. On top of that, they have more fate points. They have 3 fate points, and we'll just kind of like see how this goes.